Former Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz is flirting with the idea of running in the 2020 election. However, if he were to run, he would run as an independent. We found out about this on 60 Minutes just last Sunday, where he said, quote, "I am seriously thinking of running for president. I will run as a centrist independent." Whoa, sounds so appealing. "Outside of the two-party system. We're living at a most fragile time, not only the fact that this president is not qualified to be the president, but the fact that both parties are consistently not doing what's necessary on behalf of the American people and are engaged every single day in revenge politics." Now, I love that he used the phrase revenge politics because the idea of him running as an independent is literally revenge against what he deems leftists in the Democratic Party. So he's very much concerned about the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez brand of progressives that we're seeing in the Democratic Party now. And so he's concerned that, hey, Democrats are moving way too far to the left. They're really starting to threaten my taxes, okay? I don't wanna have to pay more in taxes, I'm a billionaire. So maybe I should run as an independent and maybe I'll have a shot.
That's dumb.
Yeah.
So he's so scared that AOC is gonna drive the party wild that they're gonna nominate a crazy leftist. So even though he's a lifelong Democrat, he's gonna run as an independent. So rather than just run as a Democrat and beat these crazy people you're so scared of, you're not even gonna try. That is a power move to launch your campaign on.
Well, let me give you some of the statements he made in regard to that wing of the Democratic Party. He says, "I respect the Democratic Party. I no longer feel affiliated because I don't know their views represent the majority of Americans. I don't think we want a 70% income tax in America." Now, the phrasing there was on purpose. No one is gonna get their entire income taxed at 70%. What he was referring to was a tax increase for the top marginal tax rate. So anyone making over $10 million a year would be taxed at a higher rate. So did I say 10,000? 10 million. So if you're making $10 million a year, any dollar after that would be taxed at 70%.
Yeah, well, hypothetically, it's not even an actual proposal. Right. It was a conversation starter on the news.
Exactly, but it terrifies someone like Howard Schultz. So now he considers himself a centrist independent.
Well, at least he's being honest about why he's running. I mean, the guy he's been running now for like 72 hours. He refuses to be specific at all about anything that he stands for, anything he would do, except that he does not want taxes raised on the ultra wealthy. So he's being honest about that.
He's being honest, but what I find fascinating about his presentation of all of this is that he really thinks that he understands the pulse of the people, right? Like that most Americans are not in favor of increasing the top marginal tax rate, but he's wrong. In fact, a recent Harris Hill poll found that registered voters actually do overwhelmingly support increasing taxes. 59% supported AOC's proposal. A Fox News poll published last week found that 70% of registered voters backed hiking taxes for families making more than $10 million a year.
A Fox News poll.
It's a Fox News poll. And so, by the way, that's something to keep in mind every time you hear Tucker Carlson, spread a populist message when it comes to tax increases for the wealthy. He's been doing that a lot lately.
It's all BS.
Well, whether he's genuine, I think is questionable, to say the least. I don't think he's being genuine. I think that he's pandering to his audience because whether you're a Democrat or Republican, we all know what's going on with our economy. We all know that there is corporate welfare going on. We know that the middle class and the working class pays a higher percentage in taxes than the super wealthy do. And that's an injustice. That has nothing to do with political affiliation. That is it's class warfare, basically. And people realize that. And so maybe the social issues we disagree on, but when it comes to the way our economy is run right now, I think most people know that there is economic injustice happening. But with that said, I want to give you an example of someone who recognizes what Howard Schultz is all about, who is very much concerned about economic injustice and called him out during a recent stop at Schultz's book tour. Take a look.
I am seriously considering running for president as a centrist independent. And I wanted to clarify the word independent, which I view merely as a designation on the ballot.
egotistical billionaire. Go back to getting ratioed on Twitter. Go back to Davos with the other billionaire elite who think they know how to run the world. That's not what democracy needs.
Fun. Now, we know that the majority of Americans are actually in favor of Medicare for all. In fact, about 70% of Americans are in favor of a universal health care program like Medicare for all. And Howard Schultz has spoken against it, and the heckler wanted to call him out on that as well. So let's take a look at the next video.
So,
Healthcare is a human right. Healthcare is a human right. Healthcare is a human right.
In any event,
Healthcare is a human right.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to get to your question. I'm going to ask it like this. Starbucks is a global company operating in many countries that have universal health care.
Yes.
Why does he believe that a similar healthcare system is unworkable here?
Okay, good. What I do believe, and this is vitally important, is I believe that every American has the right to affordable health care. But there are other ways to get at this in which private enterprise, my company, which is a scalable opportunity, my company provides free health insurance for our employees.
That's weird. That was not an answer to the question that you were posed with.
It wasn't. I mean, he's trying to make an argument that, hey, Starbucks offered healthcare. I mean, Starbucks under the Affordable Care Act was forced to offer healthcare to its employees. But more importantly, healthcare should not be tied to your job. It just shouldn't be. If you care about advancements in small businesses, for instance, people are much more likely to leave their job and take that risk of starting a small business if they weren't as fearful about losing their health insurance. A lot of people feel stuck in their jobs.
Yeah.
They might be miserable with their jobs, but if they have health insurance and that very important benefit through their work, they're much less likely to take a risk and leave. And so the fact that he brought up that, Starbucks offered health insurance. No, but that's not really a solution to a problem that we've all been dealing with.
Yeah, and really, he's been, like, I was looking back at articles going back literally a couple of years talking about him assembling a PR team and he looks like he's thinking about it and everything. He's been thinking about it for a couple of years, and on the single largest topic that will be discussed in this election, he can't even answer, why is it that countries that are less economically well off as us can do this but we can't? Well, what I do believe, you're not gonna be president. Howard Schultz, I hope that you're watching this. You're not gonna be president. You're wasting your time, you're wasting my time, you're wasting Anna's time. Edwin, he looks okay, he's got his phone, but you're still wasting his time. You're wasting our rundown time and making us talk about you. You and Bloomberg, both of which have come out against single-payer healthcare in this election, are just egotistical, arrogant billionaires. That's all you are, that think that you can just waltz in here now. Who was asking for Howard Schultz to run for president? Maybe one of Obama's aides.
Yeah.
I know we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah, Schmidt.
Steve Schmidt. Was there anyone else in the entire country who was like, you know what? In my top 100 people, I would put Howard Schultz. No one was doing that. He has no constituency. The entire thing has been a ridiculous sham from beginning to end. He's getting constantly dunked on at his book tour and on Twitter. And I'm glad. I don't like people yelling at events like that generally, but I do think that we need to make him realize how horrible of an idea this is, and that if he wants to maintain any sort of reputation in America, he needs to pull out immediately. So on Twitter, I want to see every one of his tweets get ratioed. I want him thrown into memes. I want all that stuff. I want him to be horrified at the prospect of running for president, because it is a gigantic diversion from an actual conversation about the real issues that we can't afford to have as Democrats, as Americans, as people sitting at this desk.
You know, John Iadarola might wear a tie on this show, but don't expect him to be buttoned up in his delivery. That was excellent. I really enjoyed that. That was good.
That sounded like you were mocking me.
No,
I liked it in the end.
Mocking you. Like,
okay,
you
well,
come
thank
in
you.
here like I am a.
Thank you.
No, but I love when you get passionate like that, because you're absolutely right. Look, part of me feels like, and this is me speculating, that he's not serious about a run. I think that he's just trying to promote his book, which is why I purposely didn't mention the title of his book. But I don't know, that's me speculating. Maybe he is serious, but what I do know is that if he were serious, then he would have a better sense of what Americans are concerned about. Either he's so unbelievably disconnected from the average American, which isn't a far-fetched, idea.
You're onto something.
Because he's literally worth, I believe it's a little over $3 billion. That's his worth. But I also think that there's a possibility that, hey, but here's the thing, even if you're super rich and you're not plagued with the same economic problems that average Americans are plagued with, you read the news, right? You see what people are frustrated and angry about, right? You saw the rise of a no-name politician, Bernie Sanders, and how he kind of took the world by storm or the country by storm in the 2016 election.
Yeah.
I mean, he had no name recognition. And the fact that he touched on these economic issues that you claim go way too far to the left should tell you something. Like, it should tell you that, hey, these are policies that people care about. It touches on issues that people are worried and concerned about.
Yeah.
But no, he comes at it with, no, no Medicare for all. I want to preserve my tax cuts. I mean, he's just so disconnected from reality right now.
And what chance do you have if you won't answer hypotheticals about what you're gonna run on? If the only policy you have is not raising taxes, what chance do you actually have to win? When your book, I'm not gonna say the title of the book, but the subtitle is A Journey to Reimagine the Promise of America. That has been focus tested until it's broken down to its subatomic particles. There's nothing there, there's no meaning, there's nothing. It's a quest to bring together the morals of a nation. Like, we could make up these book titles, they mean nothing, they say nothing.
Yeah.
You could take him and then, like, honestly, if at the next stop of his book tour, you just put a different billionaire up there, would anyone know?
No.
Who would know and who would care? He was on The View today.
Yeah, of course.
Because he's a billionaire who decided to run.
No.
Was Richard Ojeda on The View?
No, of course not.
Did Tulsi Gabbard announce? Did she go on The View?
No.
Even Kamala Harris, I don't think has been on The View yet since she announced. But instantly, the billionaire gets on.
If Kamala Harris hasn't been on The View, she will be on The View.
Yes.
She just had a town hall last night, which we covered for our members. Join, tyt.com/join. But you make a really great point about the politicians who have no name recognition, but they might have great ideas. They get shut out of the media. Whereas Howard Schultz, who, you're right, has no chance, especially running as an independent, he gets the media attention immediately. And I know that we're talking about it, but the reason why I'm bringing it up is because it goes to show you that there are people who have identified as Democrats their entire lives. That's what he identified as, who are now turning their backs on the Democratic Party because they want to preserve their tax cuts, they want to preserve deregulation, and they do not want Medicare for all, right? So there are certainly many people who are on the right, lean right within that spectrum of Democrats, and he happens to be one of them. And he thinks that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez serves as a threat to the Democratic Party, as opposed to someone who's pushing the party to in my opinion, a better direction.
The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.